People like you will never belong here. The heiress's voice cut through the ballroom, sharp and dripping with venom. In front of hundreds of guests, she smashed a slice of cake into Selene's face. Gasps echoed. Laughter broke out. Frosting dripped down her cheek. But what no one knew was that the woman they just humiliated held the power to erase their billion-dollar empire before the night was through. The ballroom was a temple of wealth. Crystal chandeliers glittered like galaxies suspended from the ceiling, and golden candelabras threw soft light across tables draped in velvet. Men in tailored tuxedos spoke in hushed tones of mergers and acquisitions, while women in sequin gowns traded smiles as sharp as daggers. The air smelled of champagne, roses, and ambition. Every glance carried weight. Every whisper could bend the future of markets. Tonight wasn't just about celebration. It was about power. At the edge of this glittering world stood Selene. She wore a simple black dress, unadorned yet elegant. Her only accessory, the calm grace of a woman who had endured storms far greater than social cruelty. To shallow eyes, she blended into the background, unremarkable among diamonds and silk. But to those who looked closer, there was something unshakable in the way she carried herself, a dignity carved by battles unseen. She sipped her water quietly, watching, listening, never demanding the spotlight. Yet her presence drew it all the same. Lila Van Crest entered the room like a thunderclap. The heiress of the Van Crest fortune, she was draped in emerald silk, her diamond necklace catching every shard of light. Her laughter, loud and sharp, sliced through the air. Around her hovered her circle other heirs, other daughters of power, each basking in her orbit. To them, Lila was untouchable. Every glance she cast was a command, every smirk an execution. When her gaze landed on Selene, her lips curled into a cruel smile. In her entitled eyes, Selene was an intruder in her kingdom. The music softened. The crowd hushed as Lila, with deliberate steps, approached Selene. In her manicured hand, she carried a slice of cake, rich with frosting. With a sneer, she raised it high and slammed it into Selene's face. The sound was drowned by gasps, by cruel laughter, by the clicking of cameras desperate to capture scandal. Frosting smeared across Selene's cheek, dripping down her neck, staining the black fabric of her gown. The heiress leaned close, whispering just loud enough for the crowd to hear, "Now you look like you belong." The ballroom froze. Some laughed nervously, eager to please the heiress. Others looked away, unwilling to challenge power. The orchestra faltered into silence, their instruments hanging in the air like unanswered prayers. Waiters stood still, champagne glasses trembling in their hands. No one moved to help. No one dared. Selene stood there, cake sliding from her skin, her face unreadable. The humiliation was sharp, but sharper still was the silence of hundreds who chose to watch instead of act. Slowly, Selene reached for a napkin. She dabbed at her face with quiet precision, her movements calm, deliberate. Not once did she look at Lila. Instead, her gaze swept the crowd, the people who had laughed, the ones who had looked away, the ones who had done nothing. She folded the napkin neatly and set it down, her back straight, her expression composed. The air grew heavy. Those who looked into her eyes saw something that chilled them, not shame, not anger, but control. The stillness of a storm waiting to break. The master of ceremonies took the stage, his voice trembling as he announced the centerpiece of the evening, the signing of a $4 billion merger. Years of negotiations had led to this moment. Cameras readied. Investors leaned forward with hungry eyes. The Van Crest family walked proudly to the front, their heads high, their daughter glowing with smug triumph. The contracts gleamed beneath the chandeliers, waiting for signatures that would change the future. Pens hovered over paper. History was seconds from being made. "Stop." Selene's voice was calm, but it cut like a blade. Every head turned. Whispers spread. She stepped forward, her heels echoing on marble. For the first time, Lila's smugness faltered. Selene's words fell like stones in the silence. "You don't sign that deal without me." Confusion rippled. Then Selene revealed the truth. She was no guest, no outsider. She was the silent majority shareholder, the hidden hand that controlled the very company at the heart of the agreement. A chill spread across the room. The heiress's laughter died in her throat. Selene stood at the golden table, wiping the last trace of frosting from her cheek. Her voice rose, steady, unshakable. Respect is not optional. It is the foundation. And no agreement worth billions will stand where dignity is destroyed. Gasps shook the crowd. Lawyers scrambled. Investors withdrew their hands. The deal years in the making crumbled to ashes in seconds. $4 billion dissolved into nothing. The Van Crest family's empire trembled, undone not by competition, not by rivals, but by arrogance. Asterisk Lila stood pale and powerless, the world she knew collapsing before her eyes. The room that once laughed with her now turned in silence, their respect flowing elsewhere. Selene gathered her composure, turned, and walked through the parted crowd. Her heels echoed like thunder, her black dress trailing like a banner of victory. Heads bowed. Some clapped softly, not in mockery but in reverence. The woman who had been humiliated had become the woman who defined the night. She left behind silence heavier than applause, a silence that said without words, dignity is priceless, and arrogance pays its debt in ruin.